Today we will be cleaning and servicing a Galaxy branded box VN. This is the Galaxy model 4733, which is comparable to the Lasco model 3733. This is kind of an unusual one. This dates back to, upside down, 2001 or 2002. And it's rated at it's rated at 1.1 amps. This is one of the first ones to utilize the infamous PSC motor, which was shortly after this recalled. That's the PSC motor. I don't recall the OEM off the top of my dome, but there it is, the infamous tuna can PSC motor. These received a lot of hate when they first came out, particularly the Lakewood ones. I don't hear too much commentary about these earlier Lasco ones, but the Lakewood ones in particular were hated. And from an objective standpoint, I don't understand why, because they work just fine. These, I would argue, were as powerful as the previous design using the power-hungry shaded pole Marco motor. That Marco motor consumed around 2.2 amps, I think, and this is 1.1, and it moves about the same amount of air. Now, the recall on these is allegedly solvable by connecting a fused plug adapter to the plug, which for the longest time you have to write into Lasco and then they'll send you however many you want. I have no idea if that's still going on or not. I would imagine probably not, because that was so many years ago. That was back in early to mid 2000s. And that's why now all the Lasco fans have the fused plug on them. But anyways, I suspect that the problem with these motors is not an intrinsic problem with the motor, but rather an issue with lack of maintenance. I suspect what happens is when these vents block up, which are very small, with dust, which won't take particularly long, then the motor overheats and fails. I think several of these, or at least one of these that actually caused a substantial fire, was used in a barn, which is a very dirty environment, so again, the motor probably got blocked up and overheated. That's not excusable. It's terrible that happens, but I tend to think that if kept clean, especially if used with the fused plug adapter, that there's probably nothing wrong with this. I can't prove that, and I don't know. That's just my opinion, my speculation. When I get this running, I will check the temperature of the motor during operation, and if it heats up to something reasonable like 120, 130 degrees, then I'm going to say that's decent evidence to my theory. If it runs exceptionally hot, well, let's say it gets up to 150, 160 degrees, then maybe it does self-destruct for no good reason, but I tend to think that it was just an issue with lack of maintenance. This appears to be very low hours. I got this one as a pair with another one. I can't remember now where I got it, which is surprising to me, because it would have been out of the ordinary to find these, because not a lot of box fans turn up around here. Probably got it at the OK Will. And one of them was in better condition than the other. I think that this was the one that was in lesser condition. I think the other one was pretty much all complete. This one's missing the knob for the switch. Switch is still there and still works. This is not the correct knob, but this is one I took off of a newer Lasco 3733, and this knob fits and will work just fine for turning the fan on and off. Maybe someday I'll come across the correct knob that would have gone on there. Let's go ahead and turn this on. For some reason I put the cord and the feet inside of here. I guess because I knew I wasn't going to get to this for a while until I found a new knob. I gotta find the other one. I can't remember if I ever worked on it or not. I would say this doesn't have more than 1 year of dust on it. I'm sure what happened is this was purchased maybe summer of 2002, and I think it was either, maybe it was even 2003 that the recall came out. The owner probably heard about the recall and put it away and stopped using it, and then it sat there and the recall probably was forgotten about, and then it was donated to the thrift store. I'm going to put these guards in the dishwasher and hopefully they'll clean up real nice. It even has the original feet still. Or, no, these are not the original feet. They don't even match. Well, they do match, but they're not made out of the same type of material. Well, I guess those have nothing to do with it. There was another set of feet that I had sitting on top of it. I don't know if I just assigned these feet to it as ones that would work or if they came with it. But I had these two on top of it. This one's partially broken. This one's not broken at all. We'll definitely need those with this thing because it's very powerful and very lightweight. Yeah, it's not locked up or anything. So these tend to gather a lot of hatred among collectors. Not so much these as the liquid ones. The liquid ones were the most hated thing on the planet for some reason when those first came out, or when they first switched to the PSC motor. And objectively I don't understand why, because generally speaking these work just as good as the Marco motor ones did, and that they use half the power. So what is there to dislike? I think people just hate them because they're not what they once were. Which I understand not liking them for that reason, but disliking something and then just saying it's a horrible product are two different things. Alright, so let's see what we got here. I've got the kilowatt meter hooked up, and we'll test with 116.6 the volts. I gotta put one of these feet on there because it will tip over. I think that the Marco motors ran a little bit slower on low. I have a Lasco 3733 from 99 or 2000, which is very, very similar in appearance to this one. Handle's the same, the front guard's the same, Sam's the logo. The blades are slightly different, but they're pretty much the same blade set. And the switch was different, but at a quick glance, I mean, it looks like the same fan. This is running faster than the Marco motors did on low, and it's pushing the same amount of air. It's pretty strong. That's 0.65 the amps, 76 the watts, with a power factor of 1 on the nose. So the capacitor is still good. And this is probably equivalent to the high speed on the one sold today. Very strong. And it gets right up to speed too. The motor has a lot of torque. That's 0.88 the amps, 102 the watts, power factor 0.99 the power factor. And then the high. Wow. That's really something. That's 1.17 the amps, 126 the watts, 0.91 the power factor. I can just feel the air rushing around the room into the back of the fan. This is extremely powerful. I really do think that these were as powerful as the Marco motor ones, and I also think that these were among the most powerful of the plastic box fans we saw, particularly the ones that had the circular guard like the weather shield. Now, this is really powerful, and it's not obnoxiously loud either. That's very strong. Very, very good velocity to the air movement. And it's not in perfect balance, but it's not atrocious either. Bearings seem to be in reasonable condition. Alright, so let's take these guards off and put these guards in the dishwasher. We'll come back in a couple hours and we should have very nice clean guards. And they should come out looking like new, I think. I'm not going to put the blade in there because I just don't know how the heat would affect the blade, and this blade is pretty much impossible to replace because it is slightly different than some of the other ones. So far it doesn't seem like these blades are warping at all, unlike the D blades that are warping terribly. Alright, so here's the guards. You can see that they're pretty dirty. Not horrible, but definitely got quite a bit of dirt on them, kind of brown. So the dishwasher should be able to clean that right up and make these look like new again. And we'll put the handle in there too. It's the next day. I have put the guards as well as the handle through the dishwasher, and it came out perfectly. Not a speck of dust anywhere. Stark white too. It took some time, that's why we're into day 2. Probably took about 3 hours for the machine to run. But that's fine. It works great. It can have as much time as it needs because I can do something else while it does that. Even if it took 6 hours, it would be sitting there scrubbing these guards by hand. So the guards are clean. I put the handle in there too, and the handle even came out pretty good. So we don't have to do anything with the guards or the handle at this point. The blades I'm going to do by hand because I just don't know how the blades would fare with the heat. Now the guards don't seem like they warped at all. They're perfectly straight. But I don't know, I don't think it's worth the risk. It doesn't take much to clean up a blade set, especially with the magic foam. So these are just press fit on here. It should pull off. That actually came off pretty easy, relatively speaking. So we can see inside here, this is the amount of dust on the inside. It's pretty consistent with the dust on the outside, so I don't think this was ever cleaned. That's usually the best way to tell is how much dust is on the inside versus the outside. And here's a better look at the motor. I don't see any type of branding on the motor. It has the letter P on the back, and that's it. Well, let's get the motor out of here so we can take the frame into the sink and wash the frame out. And then we'll service the motor too. We'll open that up and lubricate the bearings and get all the dust out. We'll remove the switch, which is a twist lock apparatus. It's going to turn to the clockwise direction. It's going to take a little bit of convincing. The tabs have to kind of get pushed in, and then you turn it. So you kind of push the tabs in like that, and then you can turn it. I don't like to take the wires out of there because it never seems to go back in properly. Some people say it does. I don't have that experience. This wire is very sticky. That's something Lasco has done for the last 25 years, put that gigantic blobs of sticky stuff on there, whatever it is. I'm going to go grab something to put over the table. Keep the sticky stuff off the table, and whatever dust and dirt falls out of the carpet. I end up with hundreds of these bags a year, so I might as well use them for something. There appears to be something sticky on the inside of this. I wonder if it's oil. I bet that's dried up oil, maybe. It's kind of weird. Alright, let's go over to the cleaning area, get this frame and the blade cleaned up, and then we'll come back and work on the motor. Hello?
Hello?
Who are you?
Are you there?
Who are you? I'm not saying a particular affirmative word that you want me to say. Who are you? Hello? Stupid scam. Probably was a solar scam too. There's been an uptick in these solar scams recently. I don't know if there's like year-end goals that these companies or these scams are trying to meet, or what the heck it is, but the number of stupid calls I get regarding solar has just gone off the charts lately. There was one day this week I got 37 calls about solar in one day. 37 calls. I've been off from work for the last couple of days, and every stinking morning I have not been able to sleep in the morning because I get woken up by a stupid scam call. I'm getting tired of this trash. I don't want stupid solar panels. Get over it. Anyways, this whole cleaning area is really working out pretty good. Sink's a good size. It fits a whole box fan frame in there. The water is freezing this time of year. Well, this is working its magic once again. Absolutely incredible. Every time I use this, it's just amazing. Now the paint on these things usually is never the greatest to begin with, so it can only be as good as the actual paint finish itself is. Oh, I should put the piece of cardboard up here. The only problem with this cleaning area is that stuff can splash on these items I have on the shelf here, so I have this big piece of cardboard that I just put up here that kind of solves that problem. Although now that I've kind of moved towards using the foam more than any other cleaning solution, this is a lot less splashy. I gotta get one of those things that you can put sponges in that hangs on the side of the sink. And that's about as good as it ever looked. That's incredible. It really is. I just don't understand how this stuff works. Like, I don't think there's any kind of chemical or anything on it. We'll make sure that this is totally dried off because these frames are not particularly resilient to rust because the paint's not very good. It's a very thin, very thin coating of paint. It doesn't provide much protection at all. I'll run the fan for a while once we get it back together and that'll dry it out real quick. Oh, that's not good. That got all wet. We got a little messy here. Oh well. Oh my gosh, that just cleans it so easy. Unbelievable. It looks like new in one wipe. This bucket is stuck under there. How did that even happen? Everything is clean now, at least as far as the blades and the cabinet is concerned. Now let's take a look at the motor. So we have to remove this plastic piece that's on here, which I don't know what purpose it serves. I don't know if this is supposed to direct the airflow through the motor or what. I don't know. I wonder if the motor from one of the better... Oh, these are not the same size? They're not the same size. I think that the longer ones were on the bottom. I wonder if the motor from one of the better Lasco units made today, like the Premium or the Weather Shield or the Power Plus, would be more or less equivalent to this one in power. I tend to think it probably is, because they're both, I believe they're both 1.1 amps. We'll just get all this dust off of here before we open this up. Routine maintenance, a couple blasts of compressed air through here would keep this adequately clean. It's 5 microfarads capacitor. That's pretty reasonable. It's not too high. Don't want that sticky stuff getting on the carpet. The heck? The shaft is very clean with no rust, so I'm not worried about sliding the bearing off here. It should come off just fine. Just a little bit of hair on here, that's all. We'll just add a touch of oil to make it come off a little bit easier. This is my original bottle. It's almost empty. Serviced a lot of equipment with this over the years. That saved a lot of electric motors. Came off real easy on both sides. There appears to be a okay amount of oil wick in there. It definitely could be better though. As far as the motor itself is concerned, and the stator does look like an oscillating fan motor. You know, it's very small. I would like this to come out so that we can more safely clean it. There's two things that are delicate here. Number one is this, all the edges here are very sharp and they'll slice right through the windings. The other thing that's somewhat delicate is the lead wire going into the motor, which is very stiff and not cooperating. It's not tunneling out of here the way I wanted to. There it goes. That's what I wanted. So this is, you know, a little bit dirty. Very, very soft brush. Just dry. Gently get all the dust off of here. You know, for what it's worth, the motor seems like it's built relatively well. The windings are tied together nicely. I don't see any loose parts at all. The varnishing was done relatively well. I really don't see anything wrong with this motor. I really do think that it's an overheating dust accumulation issue. This seems like a perfectly reasonable quality motor. One amp in this size is a lot of heat for something this small, but as long as there's adequate airflow, I mean, it should dissipate. I really think that this is a decent quality motor. It looks like it's very well made. Everything is put together nicely. I just don't see anything wrong with it. I believe that the thermal fuse is either going to be in here or in here. And this is not specific to this motor, this is across the board. I don't understand how this thermal protection is adequate, because if you get a short over here and this heats up, it's going to be some time before the heat gets to the fuse. So I'm not sure how good thermal protection really is. This is like some kind of paper, I think, over here. And it's very stiff, but I think that's because the varnish. I bet it was varnished on there. And notice here, this is for all the people that chastise me for using tie wraps to hold things together in motors. What do we see here? Tie wraps. Take that for what you wish. Okay, so that's pretty good. This is all clean. And these tie wraps also are not brittle. They're 25 years old and still going. Alright, so let's get some of the dust out of here. This inside here is pretty dusty. Now the bearings are, they're pretty clean. I don't think we have to worry too much about cleaning. I'll do a quick pass through of it. Make sure there's no dirt accumulated in there. I don't think so that there is. But we'll check it right quick. Nope, perfectly clean. This had no bearings issues, so this is just routine maintenance here. All good there as well. The shaft is pretty decent. We'll do a quick polish on the shaft. Doesn't need much though. It's really pretty good still. And then we'll add some more oil into these things there, and then we'll be good to reassemble. So now we're going to move over here to the lathe. Hopefully this will fit in there. I don't know how big. I think it'll fit. I think this is a 1/2 inch apparatus here. Well, I should have seen that coming. Duh. This is not what this apparatus is for. This is a drill press for drilling holes. My neighbor gave this to me. He was a machinist. And this, I guess, was his. He is retired now and doesn't use it. So he offered it to me. And although I don't really use this for drilling holes often at all, I can definitely use this for this purpose quite often. You can do this with a regular drill as well, but I feel like this is better. I want to slow this down. I think it's on medium right now. I'm going to slow it down to low for this operation. Yeah, it's on medium. that should be low. And that low is 620 RPM. Where's the daggone power bar? Here it is. I don't know if the switch is broken or just missing a part, but that's why that screwdriver is in there, because you need a additional piece to get it to turn on. And that piece is either not with us anymore or the switch is messed up. So we'll just use the switch on the power bar. And we use Chrome polish from Happich, and this is made in Germany. Very good quality product. Focus. Focus. Good. You don't need much for this operation. Very small amount. This thing probably needs to be serviced. It sounds like some bearings or something is dry. Here's what the shaft looks like now. Practically a mirror finish on there. That should work very well. Okay, so we're going to add, get some fresh oil. We're going to add oil in here. Now this is a little bit, this is easier than the front because technically you can just pour the oil right in the back and it'll go where it needs to go. But ultimately in between here is where we want to put the oil. Just put a couple drops all around the bearing in between there. Throw a couple inside there. That's all good. And we'll do the same thing on the other one. Okay. Now we got to get the windings back into the shell. I had thought about trying to revarnish this, but I don't feel like it needs to be revarnished. I don't see anything wrong with it. Okay, now we'll take the shaft and put that back in. Just put a drop of oil on here so it's got something on the surface as it slides in. And there's an air bubble that you have to overcome initially. That's just gliding with like practically no friction right now. I'll put a little bit over the other side as well. Okay. I don't believe that this is orientation specific, this top part. And these don't need a crazy amount of torque, but I try to make it as even as possible and just reasonably snug. These screws are only threading into this cheap pot metal material, so they absolutely can strip out if you go too hard. Okay, so now this is all dirty, and that's fine. Better than the table. Now we might find that the motor is very stiff at this point. We are finding that, so we're just going to take a screwdriver and kind of tap on the shaft a little bit, and it will realign the bearing. These are self-aligning bearings. Throw a drop of oil in there just for good measure. And once we put the blade on, it should start spinning much longer. There's no weight on here right now, so it's not gonna go for too long. It's pretty reasonable the way it is right now. Alright, so now we can reattach this plastic piece. Actually, let's clean it first. And the cord is kind of grimy on the inside here, but I'm not concerned about it because as soon as you put it up against that sticky stuff, it's just going to get all gross again anyways. Alright, so here's where we have that discrepancy in the length of the screws. I'm fairly certain that the longer ones go in the bottom. I don't know why this needs to take two different size screws. I think that's really kind of ridiculous. Okay, motor's all back together. Move this whole apparatus over. Get the frame on the table. And we'll mount the motor back into the frame. Done with the oil at this point. Alright, so the switch goes in like this and it just turns to lock in place. And I'm pretty sure that the ribbon cable should face the back here. I don't think it matters because I believe the knob can be put on in either direction, so we should be able to line up the numbers with the indicator regardless of how it went on. Well, I might be mistaken about the switch. There's enough slack here that it seems like it might actually go the other way. Yeah, that actually makes more sense. Okay, I guess that's the way it goes. I never am able to get this to go and sit perfectly flush in here again. It doesn't really matter, the guard will hold it in place once we put it back on. Alright, that seems pretty good. And speaking of the guard, I think now is as good a time as ever to put it back on, at least on the back side. I think that this might go the other way. Might go like this. Yeah, it goes like that. It makes more sense. Now I've got an extra. Got an extra twist in this now. Yeah, it definitely goes like that. Why the sticky stuff is on that side, I don't know. Well, whatever, it doesn't really matter. I can't tell if this is what direction this grill is supposed to go on in. Does it go this way or does it go this way? There's not really much of a difference. I guess it goes this way. Stupid cord is... Well, the cord is not stupid, the cord is essential, but it's causing this to not sit flat. let's take a quick break here and make sure that this is electrically working. Yep, it's copacetic. And the switch is lining up properly. Okay, I'll put the blade on. Actually, we'll put the handle on first. Probably easier without the blade in the way. Flat spot on the shaft matches the flat spot on the blade. Bearings are very happy now. Okay, here we go. This is looking like new now. And I'll even give it these new feet. Nice and clean in there. I actually do have another model of this that has the switch. I'll restore that one too, and then that one will be more complete than this one. A lot of people just go out and throw out the old one and buy a new one when it gets dirty. Not me. This is much more gratifying. Yeah, it saves money too. Alright, here we go. Low. Working better. Moving more air. Just a little bit of dust on that leading edge of the blade really can make a significant difference. That's only medium. This is stronger than the high on the new ones. is actually pretty reasonable too. It's not bad at all. That is really strong. These absolutely were among the most powerful plastic box fans we saw. No doubt about it. Just incredible performance. And it gets up to speed very quick too.